The WNBA All-Star starters have been announced, y'all. They've been announced. Y'all want to guess who not starting? Hey, listen, some people don't belong in certain conversations.
And the front court players, Boston, Nafisi Collier, Nika, Satu Sabali, Brianna Stewart, and Asia Wilson. All right. And down here, Boston, Jonquel Jones, Alyssa Thomas. No Angel Reese, folks.
Angel Reese didn't just fail to make the all-star starting lineup. She didn't even sneak into the list of reserves. Despite being one of the most hyped names in the entire WNBA, and after practically begging fans to stuff the ballot boxes for her, the cold, hard truth is impossible to ignore. She racked up a little over 500,000 votes, which sounds fine until you realize that's a tiny blip compared to the expectations around her. This is the same player Forbes tried to crown as the co-face of the WNBA, putting her right up there next to Caitlin Clark, acting like Reese was already part of the league's royalty. But the scoreboard doesn't lie.
And Angel Reese being the face of the WNBA, you would think Angel Reese is leading the league in votes. Not only is the self-proclaimed Barbie not in the lead, Angel Reese isn't even close to making the top 10.
So what went wrong here? If you support Caitlin in the WNBA All-Star Game, comment down below, baby goat over baby giraffe. Let's go.
Let's keep it real. Did y'all think Angel Reese was going to be starting? Wait. Don't get mad at me. Why you bringing up Angel? Hey. You don't tell me nothing, because I'm going to tell you something. Listen, man. Them Instagram followers and all that, it don't translate to the court. Y'all not voting, bro. It's as simple as that. These starters are about, you got like fan votes come into play here. Y'all wasn't voting for her like that, bro. Stop it. Just stop.
How does a player with wall-to-wall media coverage, constant viral trends, and an endless flood of highlight packages and tweets end up nowhere near the top of the voting where it actually matters? Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark, who's had her fair share of controversy and critics, absolutely destroyed the fan vote with almost 1.3 million votes, nearly triple Angel Reese's tally. This isn't just a disappointing finish for Reese, it's a jarring slap of reality. The deeper you look at how the fans, media, and even other WNBA players cast their votes, the more obvious the gap becomes. Turns out hype and actual respect aren't the same thing.
And we saw from the popularity voting, remember, it wasn't just Caitlin Clark, it was me too. Angel was 13th in the All-Star voting. Well, everything I've been told, she should have been at least second.
Because make no mistake, Angel Reese was everywhere. Just last year, she was the darling of think pieces and sports magazine features, propped up as the next big thing who'd redefine what women's basketball could look like. You couldn't scroll social media without seeing her face. The league certainly leaned all the way into that story. And yet, when it came time for fans to actually show up and vote her into the All-Star game, Reese found herself sitting all the way at 13th place. Not just disappointing, borderline humiliating for someone who's been called the future of the sport. So again, where did all that momentum vanish?
11.3 points and 11.9 boards and a 38.5% shooter at 6'3".
Let's look at the numbers that tell the real story. Angel's averaging around 11.3 points and 11.9 rebounds. The boards look decent at a glance, but her shooting percentage? A pretty ugly 38.9% from the field. That's not just a small dip, that's a noticeable slide from last season. Her rebounding is also down more than a full board per game. For someone who stands 6 feet 3 inches and was supposed to be an unstoppable interior presence, the inconsistency is glaring. Those stats don't scream generational, they barely whisper average starter. And the drop is especially loud when stacked against the giant expectations with her name on them.
So it's been very up and down. All of her numbers, she's over 2 points a game behind last year, and basically a little over a rebound a game down, and that's supposed to be her strong suit.
Meanwhile, Look across the league, and it's clear who's dominating the conversation and the scoreboard. Caitlin Clark didn't just win the fan vote, she obliterated it with about 1.3 million tallies, leaving Angel's numbers in the dust. Clark's not only filling up the stat sheet, she's leading her squad, hitting highlight plays that swing games and packing arenas from coast to coast. In contrast, Angel Reese's stat line isn't keeping up with the noise. So when you see players with less Twitter buzz, but way more reliable production leapfrogging Reese in the All-Star voting, it becomes painfully obvious why fans and analysts have started to rethink where she truly belongs in the league hierarchy.
Not only was she not second, she was basically 3 times the amount of votes behind Caitlin Clark.
And here's where the All-Star voting process absolutely shreds the illusions. Sure, fans get half the vote, but that other 50%? It comes from people who watch film for a living, the media, and fellow players. The same folks who know exactly what an all-star is supposed to look like. Angel Reese? She didn't just slip off their radars, she was left off every major media ballot entirely. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark wasn't just picked. She was the unanimous media choice across all 3 official ballots. That's what real respect earned by on-court brilliance looks like. Angel's numbers, especially with all the expectations tied to her brand, simply didn't break through.
Same Angel Reese, who has been begging, and I mean begging, people on social media to vote for her? Angel Reese, number 13 on the list.
This gap boils down to the chasm between image and actual impact. Reese has built an enormous following online. The media machine jumped at the chance to market her as the next face of women's basketball. But you can't just be internet famous in the WNBA. You have to show up night after night and dominate on the hardwood. Her low shooting and declining rebounding prove she's not imposing her will like people thought she would. Every clanked shot or quiet single-digit scoring night stands out even sharper under the bright lights of someone billed as the next superstar.
A potential reserve, who would it be? Gabby Williams and Brittany Sykes. So Angel Reese couldn't even squeeze into a reserve spot. And now Megan Hall of USA Today, she left Angel Reese off her All-Star ballot.
Fans notice, players notice, and the media sure as heck notices. That lack of support from peers and journalists isn't random. It's the basketball world telling Angel Reese that hype alone doesn't cut it anymore. The press helped inflate her into the next big story, but the actual gameplay hasn't delivered. Now that gap is being exposed everywhere from Twitter memes to the official voting charts. So seeing her sit at 13th in the All-Star rankings isn't just a product of a couple bad nights. It's the result of not living up to the standards she, her fans, and a lot of writers helped set.
I know a lot of people are gonna be mad. I seen a bunch of people on Twitter crashing out. I saw you on Twitter crashing out, talking about the fan voting is rigged and all of this stuff, man. It's just, come on, man. Y'all gotta stop. Y'all have to stop with the nonsense, bro. Just because your favorite player didn't get in, don't mean that it's rigged.
The All-Star flameout sends a bigger message. Today's WNBA fans, the insiders, the entire community, they want more than flashy interviews and sassy social clips. And here's where the comedic irony hits hard. Reese didn't just hope fans would vote, she literally campaigned for it. She was online urging people to cast ballots for her, almost pleading at times. And that made the blowout even more brutal. Her push didn't convert. Fans didn't just shrug, they actively chose others. When you're shooting under 40% and can't even sniff the top 10 after rallying your base, it's a pretty loud reality check that clout doesn't equal all-star credibility.
We have 3 different sports media figures that have released their All-Star ballots, and Angel Reese is nowhere to be seen. She's not involved.
Even the press, which once fawned over every quote and outfit, didn't circle the wagons to save her. Sports journalists who once wrote glowing columns about Angel Reese's cultural impact had no choice but to quietly leave her off their ballots. Look at Megan Hall from USA Today, who spent months championing Reese as a league game changer. Even she left Angel completely off her list.
This probably means she will not be a starter in the All-Star game, which would make sense because Angel Reese shouldn't be a starter for a regular season game.
The bottom line? You can build a monster following, grab headlines, and get called the face of the sport by magazines all day long. But when it's time for the fans, players, and media to pick who actually deserves to be an all-star, it's all about production, leadership, and winning impact. Caitlin Clark brought all that, along with nearly 1.3 million votes and a league that's now soaring in TV ratings, merch sales, and sold-out crowds. Meanwhile, Angel Reese got the spotlight handed to her on a silver platter and proved that you can't fake it when the ball tips off. This all-star result? It's the basketball world's not-so-subtle way of saying, step up your game, or your headlines don't mean a thing.
The mainstream media has been trying to convince us that Angel Reese is a huge star. Some in the media even do investigative journalism and claim that Angel Reese is the face of the WNBA because she leads the league in followers on social media, along with missed layups and a complete lack of athleticism.
This is really where the whole shiny image of Angel Reese started to completely unravel. For months, the media sold us on the idea that she was unstoppable, a force that would reshape the WNBA overnight. But then reality hit, and it hit hard. When it came time for actual fans, coaches, and fellow players to cast their votes, Reese's name fell flat. Sure, it seemed like she was everywhere on Instagram and Twitter, trending with every soundbite and outfit post, but when it counted most, the support simply wasn't there. Turns out, the hype might have looked massive from the outside, but it didn't run deep enough to catapult her into the all-star spotlight.
Claim to be fans of Paige, claim to be fans of Angel Reese. Every single one of them, instead of watching the player they claim to be fans of, which we know they're not really fans of those players because nobody watches those players. We can see it in the ratings numbers. They were all watching Caitlin Clark play, just a hate watch. They would all rather watch Caitlin Clark than the players that they pretend to be fans of. And realistically, they're not even fans of those players. They just hate Caitlin Clark. They hate Caitlin Clark, and because of that, they are fans. They stan players that she's against as some sort of weird rival, not even weird rivalry.
Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark didn't have to do a single desperate social media campaign begging for votes. She just played the kind of electrifying basketball that naturally drew fans in, and the result was obvious. They came out in droves to back her. Reese's whole strategy, directly appealing to fans for all-star votes, only highlighted how limited her actual pull was. Instead of gaining steam, it exposed the shallow depth of her following. The gap between the story the media had been selling and what was happening on the court was suddenly undeniable. Even media outlets that once couldn't stop praising Reese started tiptoeing away, quietly shifting their attention to players who were actually delivering. So now the big question everyone's asking: how did Angel Reese go from being the media's golden child to being ignored by the very people who once championed her? The answer is pretty simple. It's what happens when the narrative starts crumbling and the ballots don't lie.
Now, we know the media jumped through hoops, gymnastics, mental gymnastics. I mean, however you try to put it, they tried to raise up Angel Reese last year as being, of course, she's running neck and neck with Caitlin Clark for the Rookie of the Year. Except that wasn't accurate at all.
To really understand how Angel Reese's stock dropped like a rock, you've got to look at the way the media propped her up from day one. For months, Forbes was out here declaring her one of the literal faces of the league, as if she'd already earned legend status. Reese didn't exactly shy away from that either. Remember when she boldly claimed, "The reason people watch women's basketball isn't just one person. It's me too?" That's a heavy statement to make, and one that basically invited scrutiny if she couldn't back it up.
Still don't understand how she could be that tall and shoot that terrible from the field. I really don't understand.
And for a while, the hype machine was working overtime. Reese was everywhere. Her name trended after every press conference. She was splashed across national headlines, featured in all the glossy league promos. It felt like the spotlight was fixed permanently on her, and that meant expectations shot through the roof. But then the all-star voting numbers dropped like a brick, and suddenly all that glowing coverage started fading. Those same media outlets that couldn't stop praising her went noticeably quiet. Why? Because the numbers didn't just fall short. They flat out embarrassed the narrative. Reese's modest average of 11.3 points per game on under 40% shooting from the field just wasn't enough to sustain the superstar label they'd slapped on her.
People are catching on, folks. People are catching on. Her fans can't defend the play anymore. And I guess members of the media are starting to give up.
Even more brutal? When the big outlets actually had to put their votes on paper, they didn't just hedge. They completely left her off. Both the Sports Illustrated and USA Today. All-star ballots excluded Reese altogether. That's a shocking shift from the breathless articles earlier in the year that couldn't print her name enough times. So, what does that tell you? All that glossy media buildup ran face first into a cold dose of reality once people actually had to vote. You can hype someone up on social media, roll out fancy highlight edits, and post all the memes you want. But if it doesn't translate to big-time performances night after night, the basketball world moves on. That disconnect became painfully obvious. Fans, media members, and fellow players alike took a hard look and realized the narrative didn't match the output. So when Reese ended up at 13th, this wasn't about a couple bad nights. It was a full-on reassessment of a hype train that had long run off the rails.
It was our understanding, from what we understood, she was going to be among the players, right? That's what the media has been trying to tell us, except the media is finally telling you, this is 3 members of the media, 2 from SI, 1 from USA Today, and they are saying she is not among the starters, in their opinion, in the WNBA All-Star game. They're not on these ballots.
And it's not just Reese who got a wake-up call here. The whole situation also pulled the curtain back on the media's credibility. Were these outlets telling us what was actually happening on the court, or just pushing a shiny story they hoped would stick? The fact that they quickly went silent after the voting fiasco says it all. Once it was clear the performance didn't match the profile, they pivoted fast. Now Reese finds herself in a very different kind of spotlight. The silence from the media isn't just awkward, it's a clear warning. These same outlets that built her brand can just as easily move on to the next big promise if she doesn't start producing like an actual all-star. So here's the fork in the road for Angel Reese. Does she take all this as fuel to finally elevate her game, prove she's more than just headlines, and claw her way back into the conversation? Or does she fade out, remembered more for magazine covers than meaningful moments on the court?
I mean, we got to remember, they may put Angel Reese on their backs and try to carry her across the finish line, for crying out loud. But my goodness, what a difference. What a difference in the media from this time last year. People are finally catching on. Basketball fans, actual basketball fans that know anything about basketball, they've caught on. There's no doubt about it.
What do you think? Is Reese going to bounce back stronger, or has the WNBA already shifted its spotlight elsewhere? The whole Angel Reese saga proves something big. Media buzz, no matter how loud it is or how many Forbes spreads you land, doesn't guarantee you all-star nods. You still have to show up, dominate, and earn respect on the floor. Her omission from the all-star lineup sends a message loud and clear. Fans, players, and even the same press that once fawned over her all want the same thing. Real results. Not just catchy quotes and flashy photo shoots. If you think the ballots were spot on and the voters called it right, let us know in the comments. And if you support Caitlin in the WNBA All-Star Game, comment down below Baby Goat over Baby Giraffe. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.